The final chapter of MHA is officially out and Deku becomes a quirkless hero. This was a great chapter. Let's go through the entire thing to see if we missed anything from the leaks. This is sad as hell. Let's get into it. So the chapter starts off with some narration from Deku and he says, people are not born equal. Individually, we're all different and so we're able to empathize with each other. And this is exactly what he said in the first chapter of MHA. This is a great full circle moment. He says our differences, physical and mental, is what allows us to run towards other people in search for common ground. And then an older Koda interrupts Deku's narration and he asks, where is the class going to meet up for their practical skills practice? And Deku says at the bus stop because we're going to the USJ, and we learn that Deku is a teacher and Koda is a student. And then Deku continues his narration and he says, this is something I was taught at the age of 17, the truth about society. Then we get a double page spread showing a montage of time passing when Deku is in school. We see Deku going home to his mom, we see Gran Torino trying to take some steps with All Might, we see Bakugo and Deku in a class taking their test, and then we see the next sports festival. We see Mount Lady, we see Shoji and this other guy shaking hands. We see Koda and Eri walking together. We see Hawks and Tokeyami. Aizawa and President Mike are at Kurogiri's grave, and then we see Endeavor with his team. And we see Melissa Shield from the first movie meeting the class. Here's the next page. We see Bakugo doing his training on his arm because it's broken, and then we see Deku and Ochako talking together. And then we cut to their graduation, and we see Ida giving the speech, and Bakugo and Monoma blow up the stage. But the crazy thing is we see Deku losing all the embers for One For All. We see him holding them right here. They slowly fade away right here, and they're gone. And in this double spread, Deku is saying everybody here is heroes, and he couldn't have made it here without them. He's just appreciating everybody that's been around for this journey. And then we have an 8-year time skip, and we go to this random class, and we hear that the entrance exams are about to start up. And people are going to be choosing their career paths, and people have a lot of options to choose from. This guy says he wants to be a hero at UA. This guy says he wants to join the Lighty Lab. And it looks like people want to be more than just heroes nowadays. They want to be somebody who creates support items, be doctors, somebody who's a part of the news and the media. We see La Brava, we see the doctor, and we see Hatsume, and it looks like she made gadgets seem cool to people. And then we cut to this kid. His name is Dai, and we've seen him in the show before, and he wants to be a hero, but he is being put down because his quirk is not that strong. And then we see him walking, and he says people have changed. People used to want to be heroes like All Might, Endeavor, Bakugo, Deku, but now people are finding their own place, and he hasn't grown up really. He's still stuck in that mindset. He says every time he goes to the All Might statue, he gets anxious. And then we see Shoji, and his hero name is Tentacle, and he's been getting a lot of praise because he's been resolving prejudice-based incidents in a peaceful way, and because of this, he's getting an award. But when Shoji gets this award, he actually dedicates it to all the people who revolted 8 years ago. He says, I am able to stand here today because of their will. Then we learn that Ochako, Sue, Yaoyorozu, and Ida have created a team, and they're going across the country to go to schools. And in this current time, there hasn't been a lot of villain incidents, and heroes are actually rising up. And Ochako has created something called the Quirk Counseling Expansion Project, and it looks like Toga has affected her a lot because she wants to give counseling to kids with crazy quirks that affect their personality, and this is a great thing for her. Then we see Eri at UA2 with her friends, and then we see Aizawa, and he got a haircut, and he's like, Midoriya, look at this. He says your childhood friend has dropped from the top of the charts, and we see Bakugo yelling at a civilian. He says, why are you so damn close? And I can see where Bakugo's coming from. And Deku says you tried your best to change him, and then Aizawa says Shoto's just gonna rise above him now. Shoto has been solving incidents day and night, and his fans really like him, and he treats them well. And the crazy thing is he's not even remembered as Endeavor's son anymore. He's gonna eventually pass Mount Lady and Calmly Woods, but then we learn that Mirio is the #1 hero. Then we learn Monoma's doing good up there in the top heroes too, but then we hear from Aizawa, are you lonely? And Deku's like, but Deku remembers back when Aizawa was speaking to Fuwa, and he's like, at least I got to experience this and have a good time, you know? He says he thinks that's pretty cool in a way, being quirkless again. And Deku says, do you think I'm cool, Aizawa? And he says, you need to be stricter with your students because most students that go to UA now become heroes because we don't have many villain attacks anymore. And so the top of the hero core students are normally going to become heroes, so you got to be stricter, bro. And then we see Deku walking through the city, and he says it's pretty hard to hang out with the gang ever since we've graduated. People are living their own lives, being heroes, and it's hard to meet up. And it looks like Red Riot is really popular with a lot of people now, and he says he's just happy that everybody's hard work is paying off. And he says he feels very nostalgic about his school days, but then he sees these two kids running, and this one trips, and Deku goes to catch him. And And then we see that kid from earlier die, and he goes to catch that kid, but Deku catches him, but he sees Deku, and he's like, oh my god, you're Deku. And Deku says, are you going to take the entrance exam? But he says, my quirk is way too weak, and I don't think I could keep up with the other students, so I came here to ask All Might what he thinks. And Deku looks at him, and he remembers exactly what All Might said to him. He says, can I become a hero like you and All Might? Deku remembers the good days, and he starts geeking out over his quirk and trying to tell him how he can use it in battle. Deku says, now that my dream has come true, it's my turn to give people dreams. And he tells that kid, you can be a hero, just like All Might said back then. It's just a very great full circle moment, and this is just sad as hell. Deku says, do your best, kid, and then he says, I'd be lying if I was a little lonely, but it's my turn to encourage the next generation. Then he says, that's the story of how we all became the greatest heroes. And then it says, the end, but then we see All Might smashing the end credit card saying like, it's not over yet. And he says, where have you been, Midoriya? All Might says he wants to give something to Midoriya, and he says everything that we learned from the fight of All for One, it was all tracked down in the suit. All of the data and technology that has been created has opened up so many crazy possibilities. He says technology is evolving alongside quirks, and he said you once held 6 quirks and you knew how to fight with it. Well, we made something for you. And Deku says that looks a little expensive. And All Might says it was created by somebody from the US, and it was funded by the Class 1A alumni, and with Bakugo at the heart of it. He says the secret's out. Your body still moves on its own, right? And he says, take this to heart, kid. This too is a power that you have earned yourself. Deku starts to tear up, and he says this is the story. And we see Bakugo says, Deku, let's go. And Hawk says, do we have more time to kill? And he says there is a landslide on Star War Highway requesting heroes. And then we see the ghost of Shigaraki, and Deku looks back, but then he looks forward with the rest of his friends, and they are going on to be heroes. The end. Wow, guys, this was an amazing chapter. People are hating on it, and they say they don't like it. I honestly do not care what they say. This was a great way to wrap this up and leave a lot to be interpreted. This leaves so many possibilities of what could come next, but it also leaves me very satisfied. Yeah, this was a great series, guys. Let me know what you think of this final chapter. It was very sad.